what stage did you have that moment, or did you ever have that moment with Jack the same way that you had the moment with Alex or with your granddad, where he cared and you could see that he cared?
Oh, loads of times. But the one that sticks out for me was we were playing Turkey in Dublin, and Jim Walker was the physio at Aston Villa, and he used to fly over. And
Jim was really important to you?
Very, very important man in my life anyway, who got me the career I had at Aston Villa. And he used to fly over, and he was sitting at the back of the bus with me, and I turned to Jim and I just said, Jim, I don't know where I had been the night before, but I was full of drink, and I was coming down, and I just said, I turned to Jim and I just said, I can't get off the bus, I can't walk off this bus with the team, I'm not doing it. And Jack said, Jim went up the front of the bus and said to Jack, Paul said he can't get off the bus and all this sort of things. Jack came down and said, don't be so ridiculous, get off the bus. He said, come into the changing room, if you don't want to do it, and then he says, we'll get you home. And I said, no, I can't walk through the crowd even to go into this, because I was shaking like a leaf, and I knew I had the DTs and stuff like that, and I was sweating. And then Jack came down the end of the bus again. He said, Paul, look, this is it. If you're not going to get off the bus this time, you're finished with the Irish team. You'll never play for Ireland again. And I said, well, I won't be playing for Ireland again then, because I'm staying on the bus. And that was, I felt horrible doing that to Jack, because he'd battled for me to stay in the team. He kept giving me games and stuff like that. So it's the first time I ever spoke to someone, and I knew I was stinging him, but I couldn't have got off that bus that day. I really couldn't have got off the bus, because I was coming down badly, so Jack just turned around and walked off the bus, and I felt it was one of the worst times I've ever felt in football, really, to be honest. Because I genuinely loved him, because he'd given me more chances than I deserved at that stage anyway. And here I was throwing it all back in his face. And I think they won 5-0 or something. I can't actually remember the score of that game, but I think it was 5-0, 4-5-0 anyway. And then he came. I was in bed, shaking and shivering and sweating, and he came back and he sat in my bed and he said, I remember exactly what he said. He just said, "I'm sorry, son." He said, "I didn't realise how badly you'd got it." And I was just sweating, and I was supposed to be apologising to him, and he comes in and apologises to me for drinking too much. So
it's incredible, isn't it? Incredible.
Yeah, strange one.
And Paul, that day before the Turkey game, so just talk us through it a little bit. You flew over from England?
Yeah.
So a few drinks before you got on the plane?
Yeah, no, but it wasn't the actual day. He sometimes let people out the night before, and to be honest, I had a network of people around everywhere that would be able to get me alcohol, because if I got too nervous about anything, even when we were going out to do's, there were people in hotels that were asked to do certain favours for me, because I think a lot of alcoholics can be very
devious.
Devious, yeah, and it takes a bit of work sometimes as well. So
yeah.
You're quite clever.
Yeah.
But I'd well overdone it that night, and then probably even in the morning would have needed something else, and it's just that it didn't work for me that day, and I couldn't even walk off the bus to go into the changing rooms, because I knew if they got me in the changing rooms, I knew someone would say to me, try and play, just go out, and if you don't feel good, we'll take you off immediately. And I didn't want to go out there and make a show of myself as well, and that's probably my ego kicking in as well, that I didn't want to just keep going out and tripping over the ball, or which I would have done, because I really was ill at the time.
And isn't it part of the complication as well of the disease that's alcoholism, that, you know, you can drink the same amount one day as you're doing another day, but the impact it has on you, the negative impact it has on you, can be magnified, multiplied. And of course, it, you know, it's taken in other factors, and then anxiety comes into play, and letting people down, and coming back and wearing the green shirt, all that stuff.
Yeah.
And Jack seemed to somehow understand all that, even though he pushed you, you know, as far as he could. He then seemed to understand that. That's an incredible story.
Oh yeah, yeah. No, and I think that's what I got out of that was when he came into the room and sat in the bed and just said, "I'm so sorry. I didn't understand." It's as if, you know, I don't know whether Jim Walker got to him and just said, "Look, this is what he does. He tries. Then he'll give you. Next time he's playing for you, he'll give you a game. He'll play for you, you know." Because I used to have that guilt thing going on. I've let him down, and then the next game you play, you better be on top form. You better be the best player on the pitch. You better head every ball. Don't let anyone pass you. That to my mind, is what I try to do.
In this conversation today, we've spoken about a number of men, right? So we've talked about Alex Ferguson and Graham Taylor and Ron Atkinson and Jack Charlton, Jim Walker, your grandfather, your father. You said earlier, I genuinely loved him, and you were referring to Jack Charlton. Was that a turn of phrase, or did you really love him?
No, I genuinely. Okay. Again.
No headline grabbing here. You know,
No,
Paul McGrath loves Jack Charlton.
No, I genuinely love Jack because he just had a way. I mean, when can you be coming back from training and you know, I'm an alcoholic, and yet some of the other lads we'd be coming back from training and you'd hear this slow chant coming on, Jackie, Jackie, give us a pint, if we're passing Hill 16 or something. And Jack used to actually say, oh, he'd look at Mick Byrne and just go, will they only have a couple? And he'd go, oh, okay, stop the bus. And we'd all pile into this pub. I mean, you know, so I genuinely, and you'd only have a couple of pints, like, you know, because Jack would just say everyone back on the coach and stuff like that. But he did some amazing things, like, and even the time we played Italy, you know, for the quarterfinals, and he brought in a keg of Guinness that night so the lads could have a relax at 10 o'clock at night with policemen looking at you and going, that's ridiculous, like, what are you doing? You're playing our lads tomorrow. But that's the sort of man he was. He was off, you know, he was away with the fairies sometimes.
Yeah.
And my way of slowing down is to disappear off to somewhere else, you know, and I do that through various methods that are not good for me.